Hey guys, Jeremy, National Fire Radio. Welcome back for another episode of the podcast. Today on the Zoom, I have two incredible gentlemen from the South. I have Shane Bentley and Webster Marshall. Let's do some intros, fellas. Shane Bentley, Assistant Chief in the Cornelia Fire Department in Georgia, and probably equally known for being the founder of the Bearers of the Oath. Shane, thanks for joining us, brother. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Jeremy. Thank you, man. Thank you for having us. It means a lot for you to spend the day with us and allow us to share our story. Thank you.
I love it, man. Absolutely. And then the other gentleman joining us today, Webster Marshall, a lieutenant out of Gwinnett County, Georgia, and also a member of the Bearers of the Oath, training cadre, and believer of everything good in the fire service. Webb, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, I always talk about it, and I just want to take a half a second to remind everybody about how important it is to reach out and talk to others that are somewhere else in the job. We would have never have crossed paths. Shane and I kind of touched base a while back, and you know, I enjoyed, Shane. I've listened to some of your content with the Bearers and some of the podcasts you've been on, and you guys even have your own podcast that you've done a couple episodes on and so on. And it's just exciting to be able to develop this network of brotherhood, if you will, that allows us to share stories. And the commonality and love for the fire service is really what we all share. And then it's just our own upbringing and influences that have brought us to today. So, fellas, thanks for being here. Let's hop right into it. Shane, let's start with you, man. Let's talk a little bit about the backstory of Shane Bentley.
All right. Well, so I've been in the fire service going on. February will be 19 years. Started out as a volunteer here in Northeast Georgia. 3 years after I started volunteering, I went to a paid department where I spent several years there before moving up here to where I'm at now in Cornelia, Georgia.
Right.
So it's been a fun ride, man. It's been the best. Again, a lot of people say it, and a lot of people don't know, you know, truly what it means, but this is the best job in the world through the highs and lows. And I wouldn't take nothing for it. So, the fire service means, you know, it's my wife asks me a lot of time, what means more, the fire service or the family? And I'll be honest with you, it's, I've selfishly, I've taken and chose the fire service. And I'm not bragging or prideful about it, but I have chosen the fire service and put my family at bay more than once, and which has led us to where we're at today with the Bearers of the Oath. It was one of those things that I didn't intend for it to turn out the way it did, the way it has. I'm very thankful. I feel like thank you is never enough. There's so many talented and great people involved that's made it what it is so far.
Sure. And
it continues to grow. We continue to make new friendships and relationships. So fire service 24/7 for me. And learning how to equally balance and allow the fire service not to take over my family life, because it has before. And the only way I figured out how to do that was to include my family. So,
yeah.
Like we was talking earlier, like Webby was talking earlier, so part of that manipulation factor was to take and start manipulating people to bring their families with them. Instructors, students, I know I took growing up playing sports and racing motocross. My parents were always there to support me. And I said, man, why can't we do this with the fire service? Why can't we do the same thing? You know, invite their families out, because then spouses actually see the hard work that these men and women put in to make their service better and to be a better firefighter. And then they gain a newfound respect for them. And it's not just gone for 3 or 4 days out having a big time and on vacation, but we try to, you know, and that aspect of it with family is growing every time. And that honestly is probably the biggest reward for me, is to see Webb's son out there riding his dirt bike, battery powered dirt bike in the afternoon this week. So, I mean, but that really is, that is the main, if we can prevent one more divorce or one more disheartening relationship, then we're winning. And
so I really enjoy that, because you know, that's a great conversation that I really haven't had before, is the involvement, right? I mean, I literally just had a conversation with my wife the other day and thanked her for understanding that at times I take for granted how important she is and how she's always there unconditionally for me to be able to do what I do. And you know, when you have a son or daughter that plays hockey or football or lacrosse or Boy Scouts or whatever they're into, usually the family becomes into that too because it's supporting your kids, right? And so why don't we do that with the fire service? I mean, the fire service is really a lifestyle. It's not a career or volunteer. It's a lifestyle. You chose this calling, if you will, this job that really takes over the majority of our life. I mean, what other job do you run and look out the window when you hear the fire engine coming by? You don't do that when you're a mailman. You don't look at other mail trucks flying by you and things like that, right? So the fire service is really a lifestyle. Webb, tell me about what this has done for you. I mean, your upbringing in the fire service, you obviously are an instrumental part of the Bearers of the Oath and believe in that calling as well that Shane hits on. How important is that, and what were the influences for you?
So let me take you back to where it came from for me, right? Yeah. Shane has these stories about Webb Senior. My dad, my dad's also named Webb, but Shane will probably work in some of my dad's one-liners, but that's cool. But you know, my influence comes from him. He's a very driven individual, and he is a very thoughtful person, and through his good graces and his drive, I've taken away a little bit, right? A little bit, but he was a fireman before I was born. He's still a fireman, and he still helps out where he can, anytime he can. Coaches baseball. You know, he's connected. He's that thing that I told you earlier, Jeremy, about, you know, this is a people business, and Dad got me involved. He didn't push me. I was interested, got in at 18, volunteered, you know, I've moved all the way up, volunteer part-time, quit baseball in college to get a real job, you know, the real job, paid for college with the fire department, got out, eventually ended up at a full-time, still volunteered, got up here to where I'm at now, Northeast Georgia, working for Gwinnett County. Been there about 10 years, and then have met a lot of cool people. All of those roads led me up to where I'm at now. You know, the people that my dad knew as when I was growing up, you know, he's had this knack of meeting people. You know, you know, it's kind of funny when you go to these conferences and you start meeting folks. You know, there's invariably somebody there has some sort of celebrity status, right? You know, depending on what level, part of a country, or if it's, you know, nowadays the social media and everything helps sort of connect people. But you know, it's through those conversations, those people, you find a drive. You know, you find things that interest you. You know, not one person is going to have the message for everything. And the cool thing about connecting all the background that sort of got me here and my family to this is, you know, meeting Shane years ago, and then all of a sudden, through us continuing to stay together, being up here in the area where this happens, Bears of the Oath starts to become a thing, and it's pretty awesome. Have I done the same thing Shane has? Have I put fire department before family before? Oh yeah, I don't think a firefighter anywhere can say they didn't. You know, but you know, coaching my kids' baseball team, fire department's going to get in the way of that. Working with this conference, spending 4 days away from home, but near home. And, you know, the cool thing is the kids and the wife and get to come up and visit and hang out, eat dinner.
Well, it's the involvement, right? Because if you involve them, then you're allowed and you're at peace and at ease to be able to enjoy your time and better yourself, right? Because Shane, at the end of the day, that's what these conferences are for. No, I mean, you know, Bearers of the Oath is built on a foundation of bettering yourself, right? And we're going to get into all that. And so I guess my point is, right, you had said before we went on air here, you said to me, I'm still coming off the high. I mean, you guys just got done with a week-long conference, and you're still coming off the high of that. Talk about that high and how important it is to be able to have that and feel that.
Well, it's such an encouraging that, man, I cannot begin to tell everybody how thankful I am for them. I try. The text messages, the emails, the phone calls, the messages on Facebook, all the pictures, all the kind words that all of the students have posted. Man, I'm not even going to try to bullshit you. It is straight up most humbling feeling in the world.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
but to be able to share that with the people. So the key factor for me with this, and why I stay on this driven high with this, is because everybody that I get to do this with, Webby, I mean, there's a list is, I mean, it's a big tight knit group of guys, and we work so well together. And every one of those guys, I've always looked up to, and I've wanted to be like. I have no problem saying that. I wanted to be like those guys, and for them to take and make this happen, man, it's just it's a feeling that never goes away. When I actually get to sit down and start soaking it up, man, it's just overwhelmingly humbling, the greatest feeling in the world, and to hit my wife, to be a part of it, and to hear the conversations that's been, because we had ended Friday night, but we've been back, and we spent Saturday and Sunday down there cleaning up, loading up, getting things back home. That's what I've been doing today, is unloading trailers and washing and cleaning everything and inventorying everything and getting ready to fix everything that was tore up and destroyed. And I'm okay with that, because that has to happen for the level of training to come out of it. But the other side of it is the students, man. Those guys, our goal is to create such an environment and culture that they want to come back. And when they come back, they bring somebody else. And this is the thing. People don't realize this. And I know they assume, because they are costs that come with it for students to take and sign up for these classes. But I'm going to tell you the two things that happen with the money. It goes to taking care of all the instructors and their families that come in town, as far as lodging and putting them up. And it goes to we don't profit nothing from this. Every instructor that was there this week was there on their own time. Right. Not the first instructor was paid. And for them to do that and to give back to the students is that alone. And then whatever money's left, we give away. We give it to causes that matter. And
well, it speaks to the authenticity of what you're putting out, right? When you have a lineup of top shelf instructors that are willing to come into town and to give their time to better others, right? I mean, that's a testament to what this is all about. Webb, how humbling is that, man? To work with some of these incredible instructors and to know that they're doing their very best on their own time and free will to better the job.
Dude, it's growth. You know, we're in it to make these students better. But I guarantee you ask any of the instructors, anybody involved at whatever level, it doesn't matter. Anybody, whatever level it is, just growth, right? Did we have conversations and did we have fellowship either at the training event itself or after hours? You know, were we talking about things we were doing at home? Were we talking about families? Were we learning things about the job? Were we learning things that can save somebody's life? All those answers are yes. And it's rejuvenating. You know, Shane and I talked about this when we were getting ready for this. You know, this makes us feel this way because we see a microcosm of all the great things that could be everywhere in the fire service.
Yeah.
We just have to have a little catalyst. Our catalyst, I told you, is the vehicle. The vehicle is the training. We're having all this great things happen because people are coming together under the umbrella of this really awesome forward-thinking training. Is it anything, you know, as where we teach an astrophysics to firefighters? No, we're doing simple job-based stuff, but at the level that we help them think about the job, that we help them think about the people next to them, and we help them have conversations through opportunities and situations created with all these different people coming in. How many states do we have? We probably had 10 or 11 states in the union represented at one conference in a small conference in Northeast Georgia. These people aren't coming together just from happenstance. They're coming together because there's cool stuff for everybody. There is quality and there's return on investment for the students coming in for classes. There's return when we make new friends and acquaintances across the country. We've got a text message chain going already. and the guys are going back and forth. We were ribbing each other yesterday about t-shirts, but at the same time, we're going to continue to have these conversations.
Well, I think, go ahead,
Web. Amazing. Gosh.
I think a big part of it too, that and one thing that you guys are missing, and I as an outsider looking in, I'd be happy to share it with you. It has everything to do also with the mission of what the bearers of the oath stand for. And I'd be remiss if we didn't hop into this conversation right now, because it's a fantastic transition. We're talking about the most recent conference you guys did just a week or so back, and coming off that high, and I can feel the passion from both of you. But we have to go to the creation of what even bearers of the oath is, because I know not everybody knows, but I also know that it's a hell of a subculture within the American Fire Service now more than ever that is important, because you guys have recognized, Shane, I believe you were the founder, right? You guys recognize that there's more there. So we need to start talking about accountability, right? We need to start talking about the importance of do your damn job, right? So, you know, Shane, maybe you could talk about the beginning of the bearers and how this all came to be.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. It's very personal. It was so all of the code of honor that everybody wears on their back, it was done for a very selfish reason. When so those 23 line items that's on the back of that shirt or wherever it's posted, those are not the exact original 23 line items. The original 23 line items are, I changed it from the original to what you see in front of you.
Right.
Because I made it relative to the fire service. Save lives, protect property, save my marriage, protect my family. I've done a terrible job at doing that, being a father, being a husband for many years, due to my passion for the fire service. And, you know, I always had that expectation of, I couldn't understand why my wife was always very proud, but what I was doing in the fire service to become better, I thought that was enough, and it wasn't. And it wasn't that she didn't care as much about the fire service as I did. Is I wouldn't put in my family first like I should have, and therefore she did. And it was simply a pen and a pad, and I sat down and I had to start writing down my personal failures. And when I started doing that, it took a very humbling few weeks to do. And when I wrote it down, I had to face myself and look at it. And so when I created it to what it is, go on the back of a shirt, selfishly, I knew people would wear it. I knew people would buy it. I knew they would. And I say that selfishly, but to do that, I knew people would wear it. And so every time I see it, it is the most grateful, humbling feeling. And then there's some days when I see it, it's that punch in the face right in the chest that I need. That is why I done it. And you can't take and put something like that out there and say it and not live it.
Yeah.
Be a hypocrite. And that's where the accountability came from. So it's just like Chief Rhodes plays a video, that one lone dancer. Sooner or later, somebody's going to follow you. Well, that first follower is the outcome of what actually happens. And so by doing so, Jeremy, I'd be lying to you if I told you I thought it would turn into what it has.
Sure.
But as it grows and gets bigger, and like I said, I went back last night and I was thinking on the way home, when I was coming home from Jackson County, I said, how many different students have, since the very first one in October of 20, have showed up at either Bears of the Oath 1, 2, 3, what's your plan? All the other day classes, small classes we've done, whether it's forcible entry or CAN classes, and going to Oklahoma, going to Florida, going wherever we've had the opportunity to go to. And so I went and I started going back and pulling all these rosters up. And there's 516 different students that have came to all of those. Now, there's also 87 that has been to every class we've done. And I didn't realize that number was that great.
That's awesome.
And so that right there, that accountability level of that right there, because when you got people that believe you and trust you, you know, we're human.
I mean, Shane, start at step one. The fact that you recognized, right? You looked at yourself. I mean, you talk about self-awareness. I mean, you looked at your life, your family life, your firehouse life, and you saw that you could be doing better, right? And you were willing to put yourself out there, to hold yourself accountable. And when you come up, and I'm going to read through the code of honor in a minute, but there's 23 bullets, if you will, on the code of honor. And the fact that you have them published and they're out there, and that you hold yourself accountable to that every day. So many people live fake lives. So many people say one thing and do another, and it's hard to hold yourself accountable at every step of the way. And we will fall, and there will be times out of these 23 things that we don't make good on one or two of them, and we need to pick ourselves back up and remind ourselves of it. But at the end of the day, I think why your numbers are what they are for your conferences within the last year and a half, 2 years, is very simply, it's because of the commonality and the belief of bettering ourselves. And for you to put that out there is just incredible.
Yeah, it's you're right. It is. And then we was talking earlier about the logistics that go into making these successful. They are tough. And Webby came to me after March of this year, the second conference, and man, he just we was down there at the training center. I don't even remember why we was both down there, but he came and said, "Look, the next one, I'm helping. I'm going to help you take care of all the logistics side of it." And what he done this time, I several times I watched his dad coming out in him. To hear him talk, what he said a few minutes ago, it was like a deja vu of 2009 at the Georgia Fire Academy when his dad was our lead instructor and structural fire control instructor. And to watch Webby's impact of what he does, man, it's sitting there watching. It's like deja vu watching his dad all over again. I got a lot of friends, a lot of people I look up to, but he was one of the first people that I realized was mentoring me. And to have the utmost respect for him, and always treated me kind, set me straight when I needed to be set straight, was there for advice, was the first one when things weren't going well for me in life to call me and check on me. First one to put boot in ass. I mean, that man is so instrumental in all of what's happening. Sure. And so, but at the same time, you know, it is tough putting all this stuff together. But we enjoy doing it, even though there's a lot of work. But I'll be honest with you. That question was asked so many times, and me and Basil Abraham, we were talking about it last year. He said, "Man, how does it happen?" I said, "I'm gonna tell you how it happens." I said, "I got a lot of really awesome, good friends that take and I call and they come and they make it happen."
Takes a village, my man. Takes a village. Webb, how is it for you to sit here and hear that? I mean, you know, you spoke about your father earlier and how instrumental he was in developing you into the individual you've become. But to hear a good friend like Shane talk about your father as well, and then to understand that you also subscribe to these 23 bullet points on the code of honor, I mean, it sounds like that's what your whole upbringing and family life has been about.
Yeah, it's I'm not perfect. I try to do the right thing for my family, but of course, these things right here, it's something else to hold you accountable. My dad sends out these little text quips every now and then, and there's a whole group. There's probably 30 people on that, but all it is to hold you accountable, hold yourself accountable. And I can't help but choke up a little bit when I talk about my dad like that, because my dad's badass, man. Like he's a dude among dudes, and he's got it together. He's been a student of the game. He's been a student of the game as long as he's been in the game. And you know, even the lessons I've learned, I never knew my grandfather, but the lessons I've learned through my dad from my grandfather, all the way into this. I mean, yeah, I told you, all roads lead to this, man. And it's and Jeremy, it's, you know, for Shane to tell me these things on such a regular basis, and Shane, I don't know if he was holding back or just didn't say it, but my dad's got this one little two-word thing, and Shane swears we're gonna make a T-shirt one day and put Webb Senior on it, but we might, but you know, dad always says it's simple. He says, don't suck, and he said if you're not trying to pass something on to somebody else, you're backing up. Don't back up. You know, I mean, it's a simple thing. The premise of what we're doing is to try to give someone something that you have that they haven't figured out or don't have yet. And if any of it ever happens and there's one positive thing that comes out of whatever situation we're in, especially this, You know, don't complain about your job. Be prideful about what we do. You can be, it's okay. But all the stuff that comes out of this conference, you know, it's exciting because it's how we can look at the fire service with rose-colored glasses on if we all follow these things all the time. And when they work out, holy crap, when they work out, it's awesome. You know, you see some of the most amazing things happen with the smallest of situations at these conferences. And to see these guys get so fired up, there was, so from my fire department, there was 3 dudes that just went out into the field, right? Brand new probationary firefighters. I've been at their station, might be at their station a couple weeks, paid their own way from Gwinnett County, paid their own way, short term, to come to our classes because other guys said they're going to get a lot out of it. And when I got done, when I got done doing my job for Shane one afternoon, running the ops and logistics stuff for the second day of classes, I think it was, a group of those kids came over, and they're 20 years old. These are young dudes. They come over and they say, "Man, this stuff's awesome." I said, "You need to show up more often." I said, "Keep coming back, because you know what? The awesomeness never stops, and the people care. And if you know what, and if the people care, there's always going to be something cool to happen." And I said, "You know what? This is not over until you pass this on to somebody else that couldn't come today. They're on work, they're at work, whatever. You know what? Go talk to your wife, go talk to your girlfriend, go talk to your kids. There's something to take away. There's something to take away. Always is. And you know what? That kind of thing fires me up. I'll be fired up about it for a month. But you know what? That's why we're going to keep coming back. That's why we'll follow Shane anywhere we go. It started off as a small thing, and you know what? We have grown this because the community is like-minded and wants the same success.
100%.
Their drive is for the same betterment and the same positivity in the job and their families.
I will ask this, right? I mean, I can hear the passion in your voice, so I know how important this is to you, and Shane as well to you. But a lot of this stems from personal self-awareness, right? It's all self-awareness, because this would have never have happened. I mean, Shane, let's put it in perspective for a minute. You developed the Bearers of the Oath and the Code of Honor because you wanted to hold yourself accountable. Then you'd build a community with guys like Webby and a couple other guys that, you know, embrace what you believe in. And now you're throwing conferences, which all of this consumes you. So where you started the Code of Honor to where you are today, you've only gotten busier and bigger, and it's not stopping anytime soon. So self-awareness is huge, right? And that's why this all came about. So, you know, for yourself, when do you become aware of the importance that you guys are feeling? I mean, self-awareness also is to understand that you guys, you know, to really grasp onto the fact that, you know, you're making an impact. You know, what Webb just talked about with these kids that paid their way to go and they leave there in that conference. How important is it for you, for these people to take what they've learned, take it back and grow it?
Man, I'll be honest with you. It's, so when I had this sitting there on my desk for a while, and again, there's so many people that are influential to it. I started this about 3 years ago. I started kind of like saying, hey man, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And that, you know, and everybody had, you know, man, that's pretty cool. And, you know, and I would tell them why. And it really, we left Pensacola in September of 20 after Water on the Fire. And one of the guys that I was with, he was the first one I went to when I decided to let's take that step and let's try to make it what it has become. So we had the first one and seen how easily successful it was. And I was like, man, this is exactly what I was wondering. There's people out there that want this, that need this, that want part of this culture. And if this is this easy to do and we treat them the way we treat them, look, we're no different than anybody else. There's plenty of guys out there that's got training companies that are just as passionate as we are. And I've had the opportunity to train with several of them and go and help, and not taking nothing from anybody, but I knew that to make it successful, we had to create a culture and treat people the way they want to be treated. Honestly, Jeremy, what makes it what it is and where it's at right now is how we treat each other. That's it. And it's okay to care about each other. And so that was the goal, was to take and prevent guys from leaving, or prevent guys from not engaging in training because they didn't have the courage, or they were scared, or they were afraid they were going to get browbeat because they didn't know how to do something.
Love
A
that.
lot of guys won't stand up and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Will you please show me again? And so with that, I took and went to the first person I went to was Lee Humphreys. I've known Lee for a long time, and I got to watching him over the last few years and seeing how passionate he was and how he wanted to learn and what he wanted to be he wanted to be a part of something, and what he's grown into today versus where he was is, I mean, that's the reward. And to be able to see students and friends continue to come back, we learn just as much from them as they learn from us. And but that's what it was, man. I started, I kind of gambled. I thought at first, I was like, man, here we go. We're gonna put this out there. And then we put that first one together in a month's time after leaving Pensacola. Chief Ike down there at Water on the Fire came home, the ride home. They said, let's do it. And this was still in the height of the first wave of COVID. And we didn't know that it would be as successful as it was, but it was. And a lot of that is due to that first conference. There was 18 students there from Gwinnett County where Webby works. So to see those guys, to see people that invest out of their own pocket continuously, some departments do pay for it. Most pay out of their pocket.
Sure.
Because they don't want to miss it. And so to be able to take and do that, and of course that gives me the fortitude to want to continue all the stuff I learned, to start writing on paper. And it gave me the courage to want to take and start, like the arrogance statement. So there's people that don't agree with that. They think that all they see is that one word, arrogance. But
let me read. I have the arrogance statement right here. Bearers of the oath. Our arrogance is fueled by a passion for our craft, an expectation from our customers to be ready to answer every call. It is our diligence to be more prepared and mighty than the reason they had called for our help. If you do not understand this sense of arrogance, we, as bearers of the oath, will not alienate you. We will simply extend our hand to you and ask you to evaluate yourself and your commitment to the fire service. Therefore, determining if you are that patriot or just another able being that does not belong to such a fraternity of firemanship.
Yeah, and so a lot of that came from Webb Senior. He tells I've heard it told several different ways over the years, but I've heard him tell it so many times, that 99 and 9 rule, that 90%, that 9%, and then that 1%. And that was really the basis of where that came from. And to be able to take, and that was just one day I just sat down and wrote that. And and so, but man, it's to be able to take and share it with your friends. This is where it's so important for me, is the guys, the group that makes it what it is. They're not just from Georgia. There's a lot of guys that come from out of state, but the group of guys that I've grown up in the fire service in Georgia want to be like, and I say that with heavy heart and perseverance. I want it to be like those guys. And my thing was how do you getting 1 or 2 or 3 people to agree on the same thing is sometimes a task. It can be sometimes, but when they taught us in basic, when we went to some of the terminology, was span of control. One person trying to manage 3 to 7, 5 effectively, and now we got 25 or better guys that's on the same page and agree, man. It's and then you sit back and you watch them work and do, and that is the goal for me, is to make sure that all of these guys got everything they need to share their passion and a platform to do it on, and every one of them brings something to it and make it. And man, when you see all of these guys, work, it's not even magical. It's what it's supposed to be about. And it does exist. Brotherhood is a term that I feel like gets abused heavily. And that, to the new guy, the young guy that Webb was talking about that shows up to come spend the week with us, for him to continue to come and bring somebody new with him, that means he's going back and talking about it.
That's right.
So they are the workhorses. It's the students that are the workhorses. And there's certain students that we watch and we continue to watch, like a young man is captain at Fayette County in south of Atlanta, Ryan Sanders. He's been to every class we've done in the last 2 years. And the kid is very talented. And I just, it's like I told him this week, I said, hey man, we appreciate you and we want you to come join us and help us do this, because this is the thing. If we continue trying to do it with just ourselves and we don't allow these young guys to come in and buy in, we're robbing them and we're robbing the fire service. So the initiation of it, man, was simple. It's even putting it together logistically. Yes, this worked, but you know what? It's really easy when you got a group of people that, one, trust you, and two, they live and breathe the same mission that you have, and the same, and to watch it happen, it happens. So it really happens so easily.
Well, it's because you said it before, you created a culture, and that culture has everything to do with being authentic and clear, and your mission is true. And people, there's some key words here: buy-in, right? Culture. Webby, talk to me about the buy-in. I mean, you bought in. You just said you'd follow Shane anywhere, right? That's buy-in.
Dude, it doesn't take much, but the buy-in is because of the people. I mean, it all comes back. A lot of us from Georgia, and then some of the guys from out of the state have gone to other classes, and one that weighs heavily on my heart is, it's not necessarily a class; it's a gathering, Axioms of Leadership, and it's this thing that creates your own self-awareness. It's a hard look at the hard decisions that you need to make to be a better person. And we all strive for that mindset. Do we succeed it? Not all the time. We're humans, and we're firemen. So make those two things meet in the middle sometimes.
Yeah, right.
But the buy-in from all these folks, they see the passion. They experience the passion. They see that our guys that are helping teach care. They see that the other people coming from the classes care. And you know what? Shane touched on something that's really unique for this to me, right? Is that no matter what your level, you can be a brand new dude coming in, or you can be a guy that's been here for 20 years. We're going to put you in a class, and we'll turn and pivot if the class doesn't meet the needs of the students. Any good instructor would, but our guys are able to achieve this in such a manner that it shows their devotion to the craft, their devotion to the people trying to better their craft, and then all the little things that they live as their values and morals, personal values and morals, which mirror what we're doing here with bearers. That creates the buy-in. That gets all these people fired up. Enthusiasm is contagious. You just have to have it and show it. All of these things, if you go out there and you are sharp all the time, people are going to say, man, he's sharp. You're going to get some naysayers, but you know what? Eventually naysayers are like, that is pretty cool. And that's what we get with this. If you take 30 dudes who have a like mindset, they're cats in the room, in a room full of cats, right? The whole week we're like, oh man, we're herding cats again, pivot and move. But if everybody's got the like mindset, the herd mentality is in the right space, we're winning. Yeah. We're winning with every conversation we have. And you know what? We're learning, we're helping the students learn, but we're learning from the students. Chief Rhodes said it in the keynote address. If you can't learn from a student and immediately empower your instructors to change on the fly and better your course because of it, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, you're certainly not there for the right reasons, right?
No, but but that creates the buy-in. That's correct. All these little pieces.
100%.
And why do people follow what Shane's come up with? Follow what we're doing? That's the reason. That's the reasons. There's a lot of things that make this what it is, and it's the chain of events that make everything happen. You call somebody and say, hey man, I'm in a pinch. I need you to bring a trailer from Texas with all of your cool stuff. And he'd be like, all right, cool. We'll be there in 26 hours. Without question. There's no question.
Right.
That's
do you guys think, because what you've been able to do with your community and what you've built based on the 23 bullets of the code of honor, and then taking that forward and trying to emulate and live your life against that in the firehouse and in your personal life and all that. Do you find, though, that a lot of people that come to you guys were lost? They come from a department or a history or a company that didn't offer them a lot of what you guys talk about, and they come to find you and they almost feel relieved to know that they found what they were looking for?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's multiple success stories. I call it success stories. I don't know if that's, but yes, that's that is absolutely, we hear it every time, and you know what, and it's relative. And as I've learned, being able to be privileged enough to go to so many different states and so many different conferences and so many, it don't matter where it's at, it's the fire service. We're our own worst enemy, and why we continue to do that to ourselves, I have no idea, but we do. But to hear them come back and tell us how it's made a difference at their fire department and what they're doing. And yeah, the training is huge. That's because that's what we have to do to become better at this job. But to hear them go back and create the culture that that we simply, that, and it's really not a culture, man. It's really doing the ethical and moral and doing the right thing and taking care of each other and care about each other. That's and Webby's right. Chief Rose said it, man. It don't matter what cadre or what program it is. It's a gimmick. It's a gimmick, and it's about making people better and giving them the courage to stand up and stand tall and feel this way and speak out and say, hey man, it's okay to care about each other.
Doing the right thing is always the right thing, but it's usually the hardest thing.
That's correct.
And I was going to ask you,
you got to make the hard right decisions sometimes. And you got to be in this thing. And to have a culture, you have to have somebody who believes in something and somebody who'll listen. Yeah, and is that culture 2 people or is it 2 million?
Right.
What's your circle of influence? We're always trying to expand our circle of influence so these guys can take something cool back. Is that going to save their marriage? Shane's got a great one for that. Is our interaction, is anybody's interaction with this program going to make a difference in somebody's life? We're in the people business, whether we're in the people business for our families or we're in the people business for the fire service. We're in the people business. Bearers of the oath is the people business, the microcosm of what we want the people business to be. Do we always succeed? No, we don't. But we're always willing to see it. Man, I really screwed that up, dude. I'm really sorry. Let's fix it. How about you come help me? Whether you're talking to a student or whether you're talking to an instructor. Right. We're on the level, man. We're on the level because these guys, everybody that's involved in this, I say these guys, but like everybody's involved with this. Whether they're at the student level, whether they're following on the social media, whatever it is, they are all looking for something. Are they in a good spot with their department or their company? Maybe, maybe not. Is the hope that when they leave or when they get done reading or when they see the next post or when they spend a couple days with us, that they're rejuvenated to a point that they can have those cool conversations with somebody else and then start that for themselves? That's the freaking point.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Listen, I know, man. I know when I go to these conferences or I host an event, I get so juiced up, man, that shit's just flowing, right? Yeah. And I think for you guys, like, I have to think about a kid or even a seasoned fireman that finds you guys and says, this is what I've been missing. I don't have this at home. And then to fire him up and juice him up that when he finds you guys, subscribes to that belief and says, I finally found what I've been looking for, because people are looking and searching all the time for something more, because the only thing you know is what's in front of you. So you got to get out there and go look. You got to go find what fits and suits your needs, right? And too many people get disgruntled and pissed off with this job because they haven't been able to find what they need. And so for you guys to be able to offer this network, this community, this sense of ownership and self-awareness, you bring that new kid in or that senior guy and he goes through a weekend with you guys, he gets to go home. Guess what he gets to do? He gets to go share this now.
Yeah, tell them about it. Tell them all about it.
Tell them all about it. I love it.
How you spread the good news.
Yeah. So let's talk about this, the code of honor. I'm going to read through it real quick. We'll buzz through it. I don't want to hit on every single aspect of it, but I think it's important because I'll get to it. Hang on. Ready? So let's read through it. Save lives, protect property, be nice to our customers, be nice to each other. Search every job, search every time. Train till you do not get it wrong. Train because your family deserves it. Train because your company would want you rescuing their family. Train because it's your job. Job equals work. Work builds character. Do not make your company look bad. Leave it better than you found it. Help each other. Be right, not wrong. Respect your crew. Respect your company. Respect every job as if it was a personal loss. Be loyal. Show empathy. Be vulnerable. Do not show your vulnerability to everyone. Honor your oath you signed up for. Good enough is never enough. Do not bitch. Do not walk past the problem you can't fix. Do not become part of the problem. Simply fix the problem. Become the standard, not the minimum standard. And lastly, screw what they think and do your job. Super simple, super straightforward, but I will tell you there's a lot of uncomfortable words in there that most of the American Fire Service does not like. Vulnerable, empathy, loyal. Everybody talks about loyalty. How loyal are people, right? The minimum standard. There's a lot of things in here that I couldn't agree with you more. I want to talk about the word vulnerability because it pops up at least twice, if not 3 times in there. Starting bearers of the oath, Shane, you made yourself vulnerable. You did, your self-reflection led to the drive and desire to be better as a person, as a firefighter, as a husband, as a father, right? So talk about vulnerability. How important is that to allow yourself to be vulnerable so that you can get to the next place?
Excuse me. So Webb, he touched on it a few minutes ago.
Yep.
And when I say we, several of us, but myself and Webb, we've had the absolute privilege to go through a program called Axioms of Leadership. And one of the biggest things that I learned about myself, because you will absolutely leave there questioning and learning and about yourself, was how vulnerable am I? And I had to learn and really understand what that meant. And I realized my vulnerability that I was dedicating to the fire service, I was robbing my family from. And you assume just because of what you do, everybody thinks it's great what you do and what you're a part of. But I also had to learn too, for me to stand up and say, hey man, this is what I believe. I had to take and allow myself to be vulnerable and put it out there so people would understand. And not everybody agrees with it. And that was part of the vulnerability side of it. For years, it used to piss me off, and it still does. But how I choose to channel it now, if the fire service didn't remotely mean as much to you as it did me, I had that simple attitude: you don't belong. Get the hell out. Well, you know why? You know why I said that? Is because somebody else said that.
Yeah.
And just because they had a statue where they were looked upon doesn't mean that was right. And so I wanted to take and trust myself to be as vulnerable as I could and stand on my own 2 feet and put out there what I truly felt that was not encouraged by anybody else but myself, based upon my failures to my family and to the fire service. And that's where that came from. And it was, you have to be vulnerable. Sometimes you're going to allow other people to be a part of it, and they might take advantage of it. And you know what? That sucks at times, but the learning lesson that you come from,
right,
you walk away with, that is what makes it better.
Yep.
And not to be able, and of course, when you're hurt or you think they damage you, man, I hate the word jealousy. And because this is what I don't understand, is there's nothing about this to be jealous about. Everybody is welcome there. We never use the word no. Everybody's welcome. And all we ask is that if you want to be a part of it, you put forth as much effort as you can to honor what it is we stand for. And that vulnerability side of that right there, man, the life lessons that you learn, I truly believe my reward is doing for others and helping others and watching others succeed. I love that. I don't need anything other but to see somebody do something more than what they could have done or what they thought they could have done. But you start off every morning, right? If you start off doing something and accomplishing it first thing in the morning, you start the day off right. So I learned that from Make Your Bed. But when you go in there, and when I close the door in the morning, I go in there and I brush my teeth. That 5, 6, 7 minutes that I'm in there, if I can't look at myself in the mirror while I'm brushing my teeth, I need to step back, because I'm not doing something. I'm being a hypocrite. And all I ask myself is to try every day. And I make a lot of mistakes.
We all do.
And I try my best to own them and stand up and be honest and fix them as soon as possible. But if you can't look at yourself in the mirror while you're brushing your teeth and say, okay, I'm doing good things, I'm helping others, I'm accomplishing what I believe in. But if you can't look and you look down while you're brushing your teeth, you got to start with yourself. You can't throw off on anybody else's insecurities. You got to work on your own. And that's that. I take that for that 5, 6, 7 minutes every morning. I take that time to pat myself on the back and say, all right, you're doing what you set out to do. But when I open that door, there's no more me. It's about everybody else. And so out of those few minutes out of the day, that's where I look at myself, and that's that evaluation point. And there's days I look and go, man, I should have done that different yesterday. And so I try to go back and address that and correct it. But it's simply that vulnerability of saying, okay, you sucked. Webb Senior says, don't suck. So do it better today and don't suck today. And, whether it's vulnerability or, it's most people have it in them to do. Majority of people aren't natural born leaders. And I got fixated on that for a long time, trying to find those particular people that were leaders and to follow them. Well, that wasn't right either. Not just because it didn't make them bad people. It's just maybe they weren't the ones I need to be followed. Maybe they weren't leading me down the direction I needed to go. So I realized too that there are good people out there that don't know that they're leaders, and trying to give people the opportunity to take and encourage them to take and feel comfortable standing up and being vulnerable leads to so much greatness. And so loyal, vulnerability, empathy, all those words, you got to have them. You got to have them as a human. And it's okay, because being vulnerable at times, you're going to draw the naysayers too, and they're watching you, and that's okay. But even when
that's what I was going to say, Shane, is, when you open yourself up like this, right? And this is that double-edged sword of being vulnerable, right? When you put yourself out there. I remember I had heard you say at one point, people are afraid to ask questions, right? How and why, right? They're afraid because they don't know. If they don't know, and they're afraid to ask the question because they come from a culture of being belittled or treated like, that their opinion or experience doesn't matter, right? They're in a bad spot, and that's not going to further and better the job. And so it's so important to create and foster that culture where people can ask questions, they can be vulnerable, they can let down their guard. But our job does not allow you to let down their guard. And so for what you do and what you offer here with words like empathy and vulnerable, you do open yourself up to a lot of criticism.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is being able to take and not be fixated on the criticism, but being able to take and understand and invest and try to invest in getting to know why people are criticizing you.
Right.
And because to me, I truly believe to know how, you must know why. You got to know why. It don't matter if it's simply teaching somebody to check an air pack off. They got to know why it's important for that air pack to be full at 4,500 PSI, because the difference between 4,300 PSI and 4,500 PSI is 26 breaths. That you might need that to live. And it's simply just doing the right thing, but it's also giving people that even if they don't agree with you, man, I've learned that the people having conversations with people, if they don't agree with what I say or how I feel about things, I want to know why they don't. And that's where we fail as a fire service. It's where we fail in society, is one word, and that's communication. If we spend the time to invest in talking and getting to know people, a lot of times you'll find and realize the reason they feel the way they do is they were impacted or influenced by somebody else. So they think that's how it has to be.
Right.
But if you sit down and you're honest with them and you listen to them, you listen not to respond, you listen to hear and understand, man, a lot of times you don't realize if you would have turned and walked off and disagreed, that absolutely solves nothing. And you're going to realize that, hey man, if I wouldn't have spent 30 minutes talking to this fella about this, I wouldn't have understood where he came from or why he feels the way he does.
And
So
and that's investing, right? Like in the problem is though, is that takes time. It takes
right.
time, and you have to be willing, whether as a boss, a senior guy, a chief, a line officer, or just your common firefighter, backstep fireman that's willing to give a guy 20 minutes, 30 minutes in a conversation. To, unfortunately, now more than ever, we don't allow time for each other. I mean, I even find my time to be shorter than it's ever been at the firehouse, just because I'm always on the go and so on. And I find myself, and I do catch myself at times saying, I got to give this kid an extra 10 minutes that I got to do it. Webb, talk to me about that, because it is to invest into your people, to invest into the code of honor, and to share that becomes a job. It's a mission. No?
No, you're absolutely right. But I think what we're talking about here is adversity.
Yep.
You know, we strive for adversity. If we don't have a difference of opinions, we'll never innovate and educate. So through adversity comes the education.
Yeah.
Through adversity comes the conversations.
I like that.
We have to be able to take a conversation. If everybody agrees on everything and everybody's a yes, there'll never be progression to the next good thing. How did any invention in the history of the world ever happen? Because somebody says, I don't think so.
Yep.
That's the same thing here. It's the same premise, different conversations, same premise. But through the adversity conversations, and learning about how people operate, how people think, why are they dissenting against something that we may be doing? Do they not understand? Do they completely disagree? How do we solve this? Call them up, have a conversation, jump over there to the side and say, hey guys, listen, what do we think about this? Please tell me, please be honest, brutally honest. You can progress if you're brutally honest. If you hold back, it's like, no, man, I think back to my dad. A lot of this comes back to my dad. He's got a lot of cool things, but at the end of at the end of the critiques and conversations, everybody's like, man, you know what? I want to thank you guys. We're going to give you a little clap, and we're having a great day. Everybody slap hands. We had such a good training event. No, somebody didn't do something right. Otherwise, we'd have wasted our time. And you know what? You don't say, man, you guys really suck today. Sometimes you need that kick in the butt. But you could say, hey, guys, think about it personally. What today challenged you to the point where you don't think you were as successful as you should have been? Doesn't matter what it is. Is it a practical drill? Was it a conversation with somebody else? Was it an interaction at lunchtime? It doesn't matter what it is. Think deep. We need thinking individuals, thinking firemen, thinking society members.
We got to empower them.
Yeah. Yes. Empower them to stand on their own 2 feet, have a little bit of backbone and say, I really didn't care for this. And you know what? Why? Well, how about give me a couple reasons? And you know what we're going to do? We're going to be thoughtful enough to take that back and make that better next time, or add that to them. Or I'll probably get their email and their phone number and call them later and try to brainstorm the shit out of it. And then guess what next time? Hey, Joe Bob over here gave us some good ideas last time. He said our program kind of sucked a little bit, but guess what? We done added 5 or 6 things and we've made it better. You're welcome. Can you help us this time too?
Well, and so that type of management style is welcomed, right? I mean, those are the people that people want to work for. Unfortunately, it's not always the case. And a lot of times, we have bosses and people in positions, whether it's a training company, whether it's the engine or truck boss or a chief of the department, a lot of times that, with power comes entitlement, and they don't need to hear, they don't need to listen. And so we want to work. I mean, our bosses are supposed to work for us, right? And so we work for them, they work for us type thing. And, to empower people is to have a workforce, a fire department, a fire company of people that are empowered to be able to speak up, talk about things that they want to do, talk about making changes, talk about bettering the job. But you have to have a manager or leader there to empower those people that's okay. And then they need to listen and give a true ear to what their concerns are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if we're not in this and truly figure out, to truly deduce what's going on, hey, we're, 3 times during the last conference, we had to stop, rally the troops, circle the wagons, fix it, pivot, start over.
Right.
But you know what? Was it anything really terrible that we were doing? No. But between Shane and I, were we mad at each other or mad at ourselves because we knew we could give a little bit more edge or a little bit more quality to them? And could I look across the training ground and see 1 or 2 dudes out of 60 people on the training ground that seemed like they weren't getting as much as they probably could have, to make the hard decision? Hey, we're going to stop. We're right in the middle of a lot of crap. We're going to stop because I want to make this better for those 2 dudes standing over there that don't seem like they're getting as much as they should. And then when we have the conversations later, some guy walks up to me and he says, you know what? You guys busted your tails for this entire time, and you gave us more quality reps for fixing things, and you didn't allow anybody to fall behind, and everybody rallied behind him every time. Everybody, not just one instructor, everybody that walked by says, hey man, you keep pushing. Hey dude, you guys are doing great. I'll push with you.
Well, I mean, ultimately that's what the mission of what you guys are all about, right? I mean, I wanted, we've been talking about the conference the whole time. You guys have put on 3 conferences. The 4th conference is scheduled for March 15th through 18th, 2022. Yep. I know Shane and I have been talking, and National Fire Radio should be there, and we'll be there to help out and to be a part of the event, and so on. But talk to me about these conferences. I mean, it's a massive undertaking. We've already hit on a couple different things, but you guys are putting these conferences on solely for the purpose of bettering, sharing, talking, educating. I mean, the mission of the conference is what it's all about.
It is. Is so the training that we do is, to some, it's hard, and it requires a lot of effort and hard work. But the basis of the actual training the classes that we hold, are simply, in my mind, what any young new firefighter coming into the fire service should be encompassed with and led to as soon as possible. And yes, we have standards that we have to meet. We have different objectives that we have to meet. But one, you got to learn. You got to learn that when you're dealing with multiple people, everybody has a different learning style.
Sure.
And the only way to take and get people out of their comfort zone is to make them uncomfortable. But to do that, we also have to have, this is where the instructors deserve all their credit, because they can do that and they can recognize really quick. And the type of trainings that we put on, the type of classes, when it's fixing to go wrong, they will stop them right then and there. Don't matter how hot or how big the fire is, they will stop them, pull back, and say, look, this is what's going to happen if you continue going like you are. Let's pull back and let's look at it. It's kind of like taking the guy that's on the hose maze, and he's got his air pack on for the first time, and he's in conditions where he's never been able to see. Well, some guys freak out over that. Well, if you absolutely take them and pull that layer back and say, look, this is where you're at, man. This is where you're at. Look, you can see the end. Give them that opportunity to gather themselves back up and say, all right, because what happens majority of the time, as history shows us, they fail. We allow them to fail. That's not our job. Our job is to teach them how to be confident in obtaining the basic skills. And everything that we do, to me, is just the basics. And do we do it a different way than other people? Yes, we do. We do everything with live fire. We push the envelope sometimes, but we're able to push the envelope because we have such a level of talent and knowledgeable and passionate instructors that we've never had an injury, we've never had a burn, and we've never had anybody quit. And when you take and create that reward at the end of it, you open a box of courage for these guys and these girls, to where they go back and they want to continue pushing forward. And you've given them that you took their vulnerability and used it against them. And everybody hates the word manipulation, right? I love the word manipulation because when you put it in, when you say manipulation for a positive outcome, oh, it sounds different then, right? So, but you have to honestly, we have to be really good at the art of manipulation. And sometimes that causes, we have to manipulate these students at that point in time. And we might have to pull them out. We might have to backdoor them and get them talking about something, their families, they're getting to actually really know these people, talk to them where they're from, about their departments in the middle of a damn scenario that would get them back off of that fixation to where they're like this.
Right.
And then you build them up and take them right back and watch them finish like Rid or Die. We always finish with Rid or Die. That's the class of the conference. And it is tough. And we make it real, but we also keep it relevant. And people have to stop. People have to stop in the middle of it and go, man, I don't know if I can do this. Absolutely wrong. You can do this, and we're going to help you get through it. We'll get right in there and go through this with you. Yep. And that's how you make them successful, because it's not going to be successful unless you're not going to be able to do 3 conferences in a year in 1 year's time and have complete success without having people to take and go back and spread the word for you. And so that's the simplicity of it. And, everything that goes into it, man, there is watching somebody that before they start, from the time it's a 12-hour class, and from the time they start to the time they finish, and you can see on some of their faces when they start, when they're getting run through the Denver drill and the Pittsburgh drill, and they're getting run through down firefighter, up downstairs, packaging drills. Majority of them have never seen anything like that. A lot of them are new firefighters within a year or two in, have still never seen that. That is bullshit. That is crazy that we're not teaching these kids, these guys, these women, how important it is. We cannot be accurate and good at saving others if we cannot save ourselves. Yep. There is a fine line with that. And so that's what we attack. Search and rescue is everything to me. Protecting lives and saving property, the saving property aspect of it is second to me. And that is simply after we've cleared the building, we've cleared the structure, and we say that there's nobody there. And once there's nobody there, that property becomes the main focus and priority. But search and rescue is where it starts for me. And we have to be good. We have to be excellent and want to strive at being excellent and being able coming off the rig to be able to realize it's not because somebody says they're not. There's people in there till we say they're not. Sure. And it's that mindset that you have to create. And once you create that mindset, you do it with courage when you show them they can do things that they think they can't.
I love it. I mean, it goes back to that word of vulnerability. The only way people are going to learn is when they allow themselves to open up and learn and ask those questions and put themselves in positions of being uncomfortable. Webb, talk to me about Bearers of the Oath number 4.
So we're pretty excited about this. We're working on V2 for our classes. We're working on adding some challenges. So we've been able to deliver these classes. I say we collectively, the group has been able to deliver these classes.
Sure.
For the past couple of years, and we've gotten a lot of people interested, but we've also gotten a lot of feedback. Man, what's next? We are ready for the next challenge.
Love that.
From a slew of people that have been through our classes. And, Shane and I have been texting back and forth. We were talking about this before this conference happened. What can we do to challenge ourselves and the students for the next endeavor? We always try to bring in some relevant names, some bigger classes from other places, people that are the experts. You don't have to be the expert. You just need to know who they are. And we're going to reach out. We're working with Andy Starnes coming in. We're going to do some fire behavior, but we're tailoring everything around the same conversations. What's the next thing that we can teach you for RIT? How can we challenge the next set of circumstances that we haven't covered already? How can we work with the next engine and truck delivery to add in some of the weird scenarios that have happened around the nation, or that could happen around the nation, that are still base skills?
Sure.
Those kind of things we're really looking forward to. And you know what? Outside of the training, we have the fellowship time. I really enjoy the time when we're sitting around eating lunch, or we're cooking barbecue and having a RIT competition, just to get everybody fired up. We were there till 9:30 at night, finishing up a RIT competition and eating barbecue on the first night of the conference this time around. We're going to do it again. It's going to get bigger and better, and we're going to have more people involved. And you know what? It was tough. Those guys had their butts handed to them. But guess what? Everybody said they had a blast. The families, we had people out there in lawn chairs. You'd have thought we were watching a softball game in the spring for a bunch of kids. We had people lying around the building watching us, and it was amazing. We had a blast. But you know what? We're doing it again.
Good.
March is a new delivery. I can't wait for the next big group of guys to come in. I hope we get bigger and better and get more folks, more conversations, more new faces.
Well, the excitement you guys show is certainly infectious. And, I hope through this episode, people hear that in your voices and they feel it, because if this is, a Zoom podcast and you're this fired up and excited, I can only imagine what it's like on the training ground. Talk to me. It's March 15th through 18th, 2022. Shane, where is it? Is it all scheduled, put together yet, or more information to follow?
To follow, but it's to be able to make it, to be able for it to be as successful as it is, where we hold it at there in Jackson County, where Webb lives. The facilities are so accommodating, from having a classroom setting in a big atmosphere that can hold up to. When I asked Mr. Burton the other day, I said, "What's the capacity of this place?" And he said, 750 to 800. Goal. That's a goal. That is a goal. And
I love that.
But you got to be able to you got to start somewhere, right? So this is the first time we really put the lecture side with Corley and Chief Rhodes and Blake Stinnett and Chief Alberson and Mark Alone, all these guys. And we had success with that, but we want to see them be as successful as the hands-on stuff. We are very fortunate with the hands-on stuff, because I think it's because we are so aggressive. But Jackson County, the facilities itself, what it allows is it allows us to do any kind of class that we want to, but it also allows our families, our friends, our kids to come ride their Jeeps, their Power Wheels, whatever, play.
I love it. That's
so
cool.
To take it somewhere else and do it, it's got to accommodate those things. And
Sure.
there's many places out there that can accommodate it. It's just spreading the good news and getting that out there, because we want to keep doing it where we're at, but we also want to take it on the road and move it somewhere else. But it's got to be able to accommodate those same facilities and those same luxuries, because a luxury is being able to see your own kids out there.
Priorities, man. You make the conference about the individual and the individual's families, and that's the priority. And that's why you guys are successful. And I think it's fantastic.
It is.
Let's kind of, Webb, I want to come towards you a little bit. We're talking a lot about the Bears, obviously, in the conference. But I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, and this is totally changing subjects, but I'd love to just talk about the Firefighter Cancer Foundation also, that I know you're very involved with. And I think it's a worthwhile message that we should talk about for a few minutes here and educate people about what the Firefighter Cancer Foundation is all about, man. So let's hop into that. So
a handful of years ago, I got involved with them. Ran into the group, met them in FDIC, and then took off. Hit both feet on the ground and took off on a dead sprint. Haven't stopped since. And like with everything, but what the Firefighter Cancer Foundation is about is advocacy, education, and research. We advocate for those who may be fighting a fire industry illness. Cancer is an epidemic that I think we understand that it's there, but I don't think we're, as an industry, to a point where we're doing what we actually should whole round to try to make the situation better. We're still a little obstinate on some of the ways we do stuff, because it's the way we do stuff.
Right.
There's two things the fire service doesn't like, change in the way it is. Between those two things, we have to be able to break through, change a little bit of culture, have the conversations, circle of influence, same conversation we've been having the whole time. But we've really, really rounded in my specific area that I took a passion to, and they've allowed me to run with it, is vetting and seeking out right now solutions that make the health, safety, and wellness of the firefighters at large better. Better PPE, better processes, better station builds, better work with engines, better fitness and health and wellness programs and education research processes. You know, I'm on an NFPA committee. A lot of that stuff with the NFPA technical stuff gets a bad rap, but I represent the end users, and I'm there to make sure that the firefighters have a voice. And with that, the Cancer Foundation has allowed a lot of awesome things to happen. Legal support, legal research, workers' comp education, advocacy through health vetting while you're in the process. You know, working with the unions, working without the unions. You know, making sure that you can get to the right facilities. You know, it's a very complicated situation. There's a lot of things that play into this, but you know, not to say that we're not working on long-term studies. I'm working with the Department of Public Health in Georgia for a data analysis study on death rates and incident of cancer in the Georgia Fire Service based off our Georgia Firefighter Registry.
Right.
And we're trying to do that more, working with the National Firefighter Registry through the CDC and NIOSH. You know, there's a lot of big overarching things, but I want to know something that's going to help my guys tomorrow. I want to know something that's going to help them be better for themselves and get back to their families. When I go to work tomorrow, I'm on shift tomorrow. When I leave my two kids, my son and my daughter and my wife, I need to come back to them so I can look after them. They need to make sure that their husband and father is still looked after. But we can only do that by the best solutions to be able to protect us. Are we wearing the right gear? Are we using our equipment the right way? Are we in our engines the right way? Are we in our trucks the right way? You know, what are we doing as far as our firehouses? Are we taking care of ourselves? All these different situations. You know, are we working with mental health? Are we working with, you know, psychiatric and suicide awareness? Are we working with, getting the right physicals, early detection practices? All these things.
Right.
You know, I'll bounce all over the map here, but
so yeah, but Webb, these are all like grandioso things that the foundation works on, but it's also as simple as helping our brothers and sisters navigate the process, the health process, all the conversations and education that needs to happen. I mean, you know, somebody has a line of duty cancer. I mean, where can they go? What do they do? I mean, it's, you know, you're opening up an incredible journey of struggle, frustration, sadness, happiness, highs and lows, ebbs and flows, right? Like, so the foundation of what you guys do, though, too, is truly you're there as an advocacy as well as an educational piece to help our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, so we'll liaise all the way through the process. You know,
Right.
we you know, should there be an issue, get in touch with us through the ffcancer.org, or get through the email or the 800 number there, or contact me directly. You know, but we'll liaise through the process. Start the question and answer session so you have an idea of what to expect, what questions to ask, who to reach out to, how to reach out. You know, is it going to be an easy process? No medical process is easy. Come on,
No.
we're all in the same boat together with that. But in the fire service, when you talk about long-term illness issues, are they able to go to work? What's the quality of life going to be? What's your family's quality of life going to be? You know, the from the start to finish, we find out from our primary care physician or from who or however we went about that. And then we move through the process all the way into treatment modalities and post-treatment modalities. You know, being able to help at each step, you know, helping with funding of getting families to and from treatments, getting the patients to and from treatments, you know, the things like that we can help support through the foundation. Some of the legal work and you know, you don't want to talk about it, but you know, setting up what happens later, you know, your wills, your living wills, setting up estates, all of these things that you have to ask some really difficult questions with situations.
And I love the fact, though, that there's an organization out there to help us with that. And then also there's people like yourself that give so much back. I mean, between the bearers and the Firefighter Cancer Foundation, I mean, you are consistently and always giving back. And I think that that's super admirable. And I think that the values between the bearers and the Cancer Foundation that you're working for probably share a lot of similarities as to the core mission of bettering the fire service and everything that goes along with that. So,
Absolutely.
Webb, thank you, man. Thanks for doing that. Truly. It's awesome. And we should say if they need anything, they can reach out. That's www.ffcancer.org. It's a
Correct.
tremendous resource tool for anyone that's dealing with any type of cancer, let alone line of doing cancer, obviously. And Webb, keep up the strong work on that, brother. Fantastic, man. Truly awesome. So Shane, let's kind of start wrapping this thing, man. I know Bearers of the Oath, we have a conference in March. We talked about it. I know it's going to be number 4 for you guys. I'd be remiss not to talk about the Facebook group that you guys have, and truly how active it is, and the membership of that Facebook group, what they mean to you. And so, what's next for the Bearers, and what's on the horizon?
Keep spreading the good news, man. That's the main goal in doing that. And I do want to take, and there's something I would like to take this opportunity to address.
Yeah.
That Bearers of the Oath is a collection of people, man. But there's some other organizations that matter more to me than that, and that is the Cancer Foundation, Next Rung, Blake Stinnett, Dina Ali, people like that really focus in on peer support and making sure we survive to become better or survive the hard times. That is so much more important to me than what we get to do with the Bearers of the Oath, because there's nothing worse than being down on hard times. You got people like Blake Stinnett and Dina Ali that spend their passion and effort in taking and helping others and giving them an outlet and an avenue to reach out to. Because we suck, man. We suck as a brotherhood and a society, firemanship, at taking and making sure we take care and honor our own and the families that come with it. And to me, that is more important than what we do at Bearers of the Oath, because when we go and we get to have these successful weeks and weekends of training, it has to be addressed. Because there's such a high volume and a high number of students and people that's involved, whether it's instructors, whether it's their family members, whether it's students, somebody's struggling, man. And they need to know that we try to provide that culture to where we can encourage them to take and let them know that we're there for them. But man, some people are just not going to reach out and speak out to just anybody. And they got to know people like Blake Stinnett, Dina Ali, the Cancer Foundation. We've got to do a better job at honoring the people that's fallen, that served before us, that are serving with us, and the families of the ones. Because I'll be honest with you, one of the coolest things coming up was I wanted to be able to have a full Class A uniform, top hat, shiny shoes and all. And I've come now to where it hangs in my office on the back of the door, and I keep my door open. I don't believe in closed doors, but I hate having to put that thing on now, because I put it on so many times in the last few years to go to funerals that it's great. We do a great job at putting our arm around each other and saying, hey, man, if you need me, call me. I'm here for you. I love you. But what are we doing really when we leave there? We do a shitty job at following up on that. Even worse, we do a terrible job at making sure those families and those children and those people that are gone are taken care of. And if I had to choose anything, I would choose that over having the success of the Bearers of the Oath, because that is far more important than what we get to do.
I 100% agree. However, I don't want you to sell yourself and your mission short, and I'll tell you why. Because you guys are a steward of what groups like that are doing. And you being here today on the podcast, you throwing your conventions, or conferences, you having your Facebook page, if that's mission driven and that's important to you, then you become the delivery message and the delivery service for important messages like that. So Bearers of the Oath is absolutely important, because you guys are a like-minded community that believe in commonality. And the commonality is we need to do a better job taking care of our own. And if you truly believe in that, you're going to be a steward of that and pass that message along. So don't sell yourself short, brother. What the message you guys are sharing and what you're putting out there every single day, your drive, your push on self-awareness, I have to tell you, it's refreshing today to chat with you two, because the passion that bleeds from you guys is incredible. And, this is that selfish part of what I get to do. I get to talk to incredible people all over the country about how great this fire service is. And I get off this podcast today with you two, and I'm floating because you guys make me want to be better. You guys are stewards of what's so good about this fire service that we all love. And so, brother, keep pushing, keep doing what you do. And yeah, you're 100% right, man. We got to do a better job of taking care of our own, but you got to keep talking about that. You keep that mission, mission driven, mission focused. And we're going to do a better job at it. And I thank you for you guys doing that. I truly do.
I got, if you don't mind,
no, do it.
I've sat here and I've listened, and we've talked about all the success of the Bearers of the Oath. And a lot of times it was just a handful of guys or 2 or 3 guys. Like today, me and Webb get to take and speak for so many people.
Sure.
But it's important for me to take and at least take this opportunity to call these, just read the names of the people that have gotten it to where it is at this moment right here to be able to,
man.
and some of the, all of them have had a hand in it from day one. And if it's all right with you, I'd like to call those names out because they are just, without these people, some form of fashion, they've had their hand in it to make it what it is. And I want to recognize them because without them, it wouldn't be what it is.
Of course, do it.
Lee Humphreys, Drake Meister, Webb Marshall Jr., Corey Thompson, Corley Moore, Steve Alverson, Scott Sanders, Caleb Harrison, Rick Swells, Jay Hurley, Jason Painter, Richie Painter, Brian Gregory, Justin Fraze, Mitchell Huner, Todd Shepard, Blake Stinnett, Brian Garcia, David Rhodes, Nick Peppard, Jonathan Jordan, Susan Jordan, Brian Altman, Robbie Townsend, Dale Reed, Josh Peak, Adam Stanley, Devin Craig, Matt Wallace, Mark Alone, Sean Duffy, Pablo Jenner, Rob Ramirez, Herbie Tyler, Taylor McLaughlin with Taylor's Tens, Chris Kessinger, Keith Perchie, Todd Edwards, Anthony Rowett, Webb Marshall Sr., and I cannot forget Redbird, Daniel Purcell with Redbird Media. All those awesome pictures wouldn't be without him. And I forgot somebody, and I'm terribly sorry, but every one of those, almost majority of those people were there this week making that happen. And if they weren't there this week, they've been there before to make it happen. And they're on the internet, they're on constantly promoting us and sharing the good news. And without these people, without you giving us the opportunity to take and do this with you today, it would not continue being the success that it is. And they deserve the credit. They deserve every bit of this because they simply just trusted me and allowed me to be me. And for them, I'm forever grateful.
I love it, man. Well, as well as I do, it takes a village. And,
it does.
That village is steered and guided by people with a belief and a foundation. And what you've built is a foundation, and now you need people to build upon that foundation. And you are doing that. So, fellas, congratulations on all the success of the Bearers and everything else that you're involved with. And I was so honored to have you guys on today. And I just appreciate our new friendship and relationship here, and look forward to a lot more to come. And I just want to say thank you. Thanks for joining me today. Truly.
Dude, it's been awesome, man. It's a great conversation. Thanks for having us, Jeremy.
You guys are always welcome. And thank you, Shane. Thank you, Webb. And I look forward to March. We're going to hammer out the details, but we're going to make it work. I've never been to Georgia before. So we're going to make the trip and we'll figure all that out. But then I look forward to being a part of the equation of spreading the good word on your behalf. So I look forward to that. So fellas, thanks for joining. Don't skip out. We're going to wrap it up and so on. But to everybody listening, it's just today is another incredible example of how good and alive and well the American Fire Service is. And fellas, thank you for doing what you do. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And to everybody listening, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.